Morning girls, how are you? This is Wednesday, our time for social studies. Our lesson today entitled Pharaohs, Temples and Priests. In our previous sessions in social, we learned about pyramids, why did they build pyramids, and what are the materials they used to build pyramids. In this lesson, we will know who built the pyramids, and also temples, and who are priests. Let's start with who are pharaohs. Pharaohs briefly were the ancient Egyptians that ruled Egypt in the past, and by the way, they established and did a very great civilization during this time. Until today, most of people all over the world admire it. So if he asked you who are pharaohs, pharaohs are the ancient Egyptians. They are called the supreme leaders of the land. What is the meaning of supreme? Supreme means the great leaders of the land. And they ruled both Upper and Lower Egypt. And people during this time considered pharaohs as gods, as a pharaoh was often thought as one of the gods. Do you ask yourself, who are pharaoh, or what does it mean? Their names as a pharaohs means a great house, describing a palace or castle or a kingdom. As I told you, the pharaoh ruled the ancient Egypt. Also his wife played an important role. She was called the Queen of Egypt and also the great royal wife, and the people considered her as a powerful ruler. Now let's see what was the form or the shape of the pharaoh's rule. As I told you, the king ruled the ancient Egypt and also the queen helped him and played an important role in his life. What about the son? The son of the current pharaoh would inherit the throne. What the meaning of inherit, teacher? Inherit means take the throne after the death of the father. So historians divided up the timelines of ancient Egyptian history by the dynasties of the pharaohs. What is the meaning of dynasty? Dynasty generally means when a powerful family stay over the throne for a long time. Okay, so dynasty means when one family maintains power and handing down the throne to an heir. What is the meaning of heir? Heir means the son of the king. So they will keep the throne, then later they will hand it down to the heir or to their son. I have a lot of famous and great pharaohs that ruled this time. One of them was called Akhenaten. Akhenaten was famous for saying what? There was only one God, the sun God. So if he asked you who said this, there was only one God, the sun God, you will answer Akhenaten. And also he was the father of King Tut. Who is Tut? Tut is Tutankhamun. He was famous because his tombs remained intact or full of treasures. Do you see I colored for you or I highlighted for you T to remind yourself Tut as tomb. Tut with tombs. Why he was famous? Because his tombs was full of a lot of treasures. And he became a pharaoh at the age of 9. He became the ruler of Egypt and at a young age. Let's come to the first lady that ruled Egypt. She was Hatshepsut. So Hatshepsut, she was the first lady pharaoh. And Cleopatra also was a great lady that ruled Egypt, but she was considered the last pharaoh of Egypt. So the first lady or the first pharaoh of Egypt was Hatshepsut, and the last lady pharaoh of Egypt was Cleopatra. Ramses also was considered a great leader of Egypt in the past, so they called him Ramses the Great. and he built more statues and monuments than any other pharaoh. So he was famous. Why? Because he set up or built more statues and monuments than any other pharaoh. Most of pharaohs during this time built temples. Why did Egyptians build the temples? Temples is something like a museum. Why did they build these temples? They built them as houses for Egyptian gods, and inside the priests performed their rituals. I told you who are priests. Priests like preachers, okay, who perform the rituals. Rituals means praying. So they built the temples as houses for God, and the inside priests perform their rituals. Over the time, the Egyptian temples grow and become larger and more complex with many buildings. And at the center there was inner chambers. What the meaning of a chamber? Chambers means rooms. And the sanctuary which housed a statue of the god. So they set up in the center of each temple a sanctuary. What the meaning of a sanctuary? Sanctuary means a place for protections or something like a shelters, which preserve the statue of the god, which make the statue of the god in a safe. They established, the ancient Egyptian, two kinds of temples. First one was called cultus, and second one was called mortuary. Cultus means something like a high temple, but mortuary, it's like a burial place for the dead people. Inside the temples, as I told you, priests were performing their rituals. Only priests did it? No, priests and priestess, male and female, both were working in the temples. And working as a priest was a very good job, and came after the positions of wealthy and powerful Egyptian. The priests had to do a lot of chores to serve the gods accurately and perfectly. What did priests have to do to serve the gods? They had to be pure, washed twice a day, shaved their heads, and wore the cleanest clothing. Sometimes also they were holding festivals and celebrations inside the temples. As he told you, throughout the year the temples would celebrate events with festivals. Many festivals were open to the local people and not just for priests. So all the people during this time attended these festivals, not only priests. They also considered the large and complex temple as a central part of economy. Let's see. Larger temple complex were major economic hubs. What the meaning of hubs? Hubs means a central part, or a central part for economy, as the temples often owned land and collected grains, gold, and gifts from people to earn the favor of God. Why these temples was the central part of economy? Because the people who working in the temples during this time owned land, had all the land, and collecting grains, gold, and gifts from people to earn the favor of God. That means that the temples were full of treasures, gold, money, and so on. We finished our lesson, girls. Hope you grasp it very well and learn about pharaohs, priests, the temples, and why did they establish them. Our classwork will be in the student book from page 90 to 94, and the homework in the workbook starts from page 67, 68 until 69. Please girls, before you start to practice your homework, study the lesson very well and accurately from this PowerPoint. Inshallah, you will answer all the questions smoothly and perfectly. Have a nice day, girls. See you next lesson, inshallah. And if you have any answers, please ask me directly. I will send you the answers on WhatsApp group. Have a nice day.